There seems to be a new buzzword every time I hear people talking about running recently, especially in the direction of new runners. And this buzzword is all around zone 2 or conversational pace running. But if you are new to running, here's why that is terrible advice. And what I'm going to do for you instead is tell you what you should do instead of listening to that. Because right now, if you're someone that's new to running and you're trying to follow these zones and stick within zone 2, if I'm honest, I think it's really hurting your chances of being any good at running. So by the end of this video, my hope is to have given you enough information for you to understand why this is hurting your running and what to focus on instead. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name's Sydney, and my program, the Hybrid Formula, is designed to get the everyday athlete into hybrid training, to lift heavier, to move faster, and to do it all without selling their souls to double training sessions and losing out on family and friends and social life. Now, if you're anything like the new runners that I've been speaking to recently, you've probably either Googled or heard about these zones of training. And the zone that seems to get the most limelight is this zone 2. Now, to you listening, if you're an experienced runner, I'd probably get off this video now because zone 2 will actually help you. But if you're new to running, zone 2 has been crowned as this holy grail, especially for new runners. The MVP of running almost. So, if you're new to running, you hear that, lace up your shoes, you get out the front door, you get your Strava on, and you think, right, let me go for a zone 2 run. And within a couple of minutes, you run into the first big problem that I'm going to talk about. And that is by the time you've already realized that you've started running and you look down to see your watch and see what zone you're in, you're probably already out of a zone 2 and your watch is screaming at you already, telling you to slow the pace down. And mentally you're thinking, well, what's wrong with me? I've just started running about 2 minutes ago. Why or how have I got out of a zone 2 into a zone 3, 4 or 5 already? Why can't I stay in this magical zone 2 or am I actually even built to run? And that's the problem. It's not that you're failing. It's just that zone 2 actually doesn't offer much benefits to those who are new runners without much of an aerobic base of running. So before I tell you how to fix this problem, let's first break down what these 5 zones of cardiovascular training actually are. So zone 1 is a very light or easy bout of cardio exercise, basically a walk. Now, this magical zone 2 is an easy aerobic pace. It's a pace that you should be able to sustain for a long period of time, and a way to test it is if you can still engage in conversation while carrying out this bout of exercise. Now, zone 3 is more of a moderate work rate, so you can't sustain this for as long, and you're starting to really feel like you're working, but it's not yet at those 2 top zones that I'm going to talk to you about now. Now, a zone 4 is hard effort, so you're starting to feel a little bit more uncomfortable now. You can't hold conversation, but you've not yet reached that threshold. And then zone 5 is your max effort all out runs. These are your thresholds. These you can only last or maintain for a very short period of time. And these zones are usually matched with your heart rate. Your heart rate is an indirect measure of how hard you're working while you're doing any cardiovascular training. That's why I'm going to use it for this example. So in theory, everyone does have a zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4 and zone 5. That part is actually true. So if you're sat there now thinking, well, I don't have a zone 2, or I'm only in zone 2 for 25 seconds and I'm already out of it, and you think, well, I mustn't have a zone 2. The issue isn't that you don't have a zone 2. The issue when you're new to running is your aerobic system isn't actually that trained yet. So what happens when you start running? You get to 60 seconds, you get to 90 seconds. Then your heart rate just immediately skyrockets. And you're already out of a zone 2 and you're starting to creep into the zone 3 and into zone 4. And in your head, you're thinking, well, I've only just started, or I'm barely even into what I'd call a jog. And honestly, if you take it personally, it's all good, because I've been in the same position and I've done the same thing and I took it very personally as well. You start to feel a bit frustrated. You start to feel like you're being left behind. You start to feel like you're really bad at running. And sometimes it can lead to people quitting altogether. That's exactly what I done for nearly 2 years. I had this notion in my head that I'm not a runner. I'm never going to be a good runner. I actually remember one time going into my old Nike running app and checking a run that I'd done about 5-6 years ago when I was a lot lighter and playing footy a lot. And thinking, how was I able to run for 25 or 30 minutes and stay within a heart rate that I think was reasonable at the time? And I literally spat my dummy out and just said, F this, I'm not doing this anymore. And that's one of the reasons that I've created the hybrid formula, because I want beginners to understand that there's nothing wrong with you and there's nothing wrong about how you're running. trying to stay within zone 2 just isn't a good foundation and a good starting place for someone new to running. That zone 2 becomes useful later on down the line when you've built an aerobic base. For now, you need to find something that's a little bit more realistic for you to do to get into that zone 2 and stay in it. Oh, and by the way, if you just comment the word formula at the bottom of this video, or if you click the link in my description, it'll take you to my Instagram channel, or my Instagram page, sorry. And if you just comment the word formula there, we can have a little bit of a conversation as to how I can help you get better at running and just start hybrid training in general. So if you're new to running, what should you actually do instead? Now here are the 3 clear solutions that I've come up with. Number 1, stop obsessing over zones and pacing and even distance to an extent. Instead, I want you to do this. I want you to, when you next go out, set on your watch or your phone, set a duration of time, let's say 10-15 minutes. And your only goal for this time is to jog as slowly as you possibly can, while also maintaining a conversational pace. If you can talk, if your lungs aren't on fire and you can breathe without much effort, good, you're in that sweet spot. But as soon as your heart rate skyrockets or shoots up, or breathing becomes harder, or if you're with someone you can't hold a conversation anymore, I want you to just stop and rest and wait until your heart rate drops back into that place where you can do that again. Now, the reason I want you to do this is because although you do have a zone 2, your zone 2 is so small and hasn't got much capacity. So that's why you find that when you start running, you get into this zone 2 very, very early on, because like I said, your heart rate skyrockets and it's an indication of how hard you're working basically. And by the time you've become conscious of this, you've already gone into the next zone, and that's just because your zone 2 ceiling or your capacity to hold zone 2 is so small. So it's not that you don't have a zone 2, it's just not trained. So you need to actually build an aerobic base. And this is why I get all of my clients, especially new to running, to get used to spending 80% of their runs in these lower zones, because the bigger your base is for these lower zones and the longer you can stay in them, the bigger your aerobic capacity is. So then when you do climb up the zones, you've got a big enough base for you to manage the intensity. So for now, you don't need to be a hero. You don't need to impress your mate on Strava to get a few kudos on there. Don't worry about any sexy paces. You just need time on your feet. Now, solution number 2, if you don't have access to a smartwatch that you can track your heart rate, is just use an RPE, or a rate of perceived exertion, which is just a fancy way for saying, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard do I perceive that I'm working? 1 will be you laying on the sofa watching Netflix or just chilling out. And 10 is you running for your life away from a lion or something, I don't know. Now, as a beginner, and for everyone actually, you want to spend quite a few of your runs in that like RPE of like 4 to 6 most of the time to build this aerobic base. So just ask yourself next time you go on a run and you set the timer on your watch, just have a little conversation every minute and just ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard do I feel like I'm working? If I'm in that sweet spot of 4 to 6 out of 10, perfect. Stay there for as long as you can. Once you start to creep over that, stop, catch your breath, and then go again. And number 3, you either need to get a program or you need to find a way to actually track your progress with running, because your improvement here won't come from just guessing. So either follow something structured or track it yourself. How many minutes did I run in my last run? How many of these minutes were within that RPE of 4 to 6? Did you stop less times than you did last week? Did this 20 minutes feel the same as last 20 minutes, or was it a little bit easier this time? Those are telltale signs that you're improving. And inside the hybrid formula, this is one of the small little tools that we use. And this is how we get people to get fitter. And this is how we help people to get fitter, to get faster, but also still not compromise or have to do all of these fancy things that you're seeing people do, especially at the start. But even if you do not feel like you need a coach, please do not wing this. So to wrap all of this up, zone 2 isn't bad, and everybody has a zone 2. They're a powerful tool when you've actually got the conditioning for it. But when you're at the beginning, the gap between where you are now and where you want that zone 2 to be is massive. But when you're a beginner, the gap between where you are now and how long you can stay in that zone 2 for is too small for you to get any benefit from. Capacity to hold a zone 2 for a long period of time, which is what it's designed for, is basically impossible if you don't have the aerobic base. And that's why so many beginning runners fail when they listen to those who are elite. Instead, focus on time on feet, focus on using RPE, and track your progress. Do all of that and zone 2 will eventually make some sense and you can actually stay in there for long enough to reap the benefits. Now, if this has been of any help to you, if you just hit the like button below, hit the subscribe button as well. And let me know if you're new to running, what part of running you're actually struggling with. Is it something outside of what I've spoke about? Is it something else? Drop it in the comments below. And for those who want a clear roadmap into how you can get better at running, start hybrid training, move faster, lift heavier, be leaner, be stronger, and maybe even compete in some hybrid events, then like I said earlier, if you just click the link in the description, it'll take you to my Instagram page. In there, if you just send me the comment hybrid, and in there, if you just DM me the word formula, we can have a little chat as to how we can potentially start working together.